Hello and welcome back to In Lieu of Murder. This is Ainoa.
And this is Amanda Marie. So tonight's episode is going to be Welcome to the A.
We're back.
Live.
hmm
So tonight's episode is a close to home one for me. Um, Located out here in Georgia. I know that with our introduction on Wednesday to the topic, that a lot of people probably did a little side research. But tonight we are going to be talking about Courtney Coco Reese. I will be referring to her as Coco as I tell the story, as that is what her family remembers her as. And of course, I will always give the utmost respect to the family in these situations. So, this story takes place out of Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. That is about an hour and a half from my doorstep. Um, Atlanta is not far from the mountains, even though people think it is. It's not. Don't listen to them. So I kind of feel like it's right in my backyard. And this story, of course, has gone across multiple platforms. Platnorms. I don't even know what that is. um, and it's gone viral because of the situation. Courtney Reese was a 32-year-old woman who was full of life. And she was one of those people, according to her family, her friends, everything that I've read about her from hundreds of people. She was the go to person if you needed to plan a little get together. She always offered to cook all the food. She always wanted
hmm
to be the life of the party. She was just one of those people that everybody wanted to be around. Um, and when you take a look at her, you can tell that she just gives off that vibe of excitement and fun and let's just do stuff. She wasn't just a, a 32-year-old, that, loved her sisters and her family. She had 4 kids. She was a mom,
And
you know.
still, I mean, she looks like she has so much energy. Which with four
Right.
kids, I have two, and I want to, you
Go
know,
to sleep.
run away. Yes, sometimes, but with four kids, she looks amazing.
She does. And, she in all of this, she left behind 3 girls. They were 13, 9, and 6, and then an 11-year-old son. So she was getting back into the swing of life. Once your kids hit a certain age, you can start to kind of get some leveling out because they're back,
Mhm.
they're all in school and stuff like that. So she was getting to a really good age where life could come together. But even through all of the trials and tribulations that Coco went through as a person on her own, being a single mom, she was always there for everybody else. Um, Before we go into Coco's story, I do want to explain something about her family and the tragedy that has occurred with them this year. Um, Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Oh, no, that I heard that her sister passed away. And at first there were rumors that it was related, but it's totally unrelated.
It is totally unrelated. So, this is Sumitra. She was a 29-year-old nurse. And right outside of what is considered core Atlanta in DeKalb County. Um, 3 months before Coco's life was taken, her sister Sumitra was at a memorial for someone that they knew that had passed. And she was getting in her car as she had left the funeral and was at the repast service at a house.
Mhm.
As she was getting in her car to leave that, there was a shooting and she was struck by a stray bullet. The person who is suspected of shooting that gun is a minor, so they will not release the name. But the teen suspect is currently in custody. So they
Okay.
have made some segue on what happened to her, because when I first started researching all of this, when everything happened to Coco, they didn't even have a suspect listed. However, that changed at some point throughout the last 7 days.
Wow.
um, and they do have a teen suspect in custody. But 3 months ago, when they lost her, she had just become a nurse, gotten her dream job 1 week before at a certain hospital that she always wanted to work at. And that's the same hospital she ended up passing in, which is really, really sad. And that happened back in May.
Life is a bitch sometimes, man. I
Yeah, I
hate it
mean,
when you hear stories like that.
it always takes me back to that Alanis Morissette song, Ironic. You
Yep.
know, because it's like the irony that always falls from these kinds of situations is like, gosh, like, so this is Sumitra. So when she passed away, their entire family said that Coco is the one that held everybody together. She was strong for everybody. She was there for everybody. She never missed a phone call. She never missed an opportunity to make sure that she was the person standing strong for everyone. She reached out to social media. She reached out to everybody that would listen to try to find justice for her sister. Now we're going to jump to August 20th of this year. There are multiple levels to this story that I'm going to tell, so stay with me. I promise I won't get too off track with my ADHD brain.
Mhm.
Um,
I make no
so
promises.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that disclosure. Um, and I do want to just put out there for everybody, there are parts of this story that could be a trigger warning. And that's the only disclosure I'm going to give at this moment. I will not be showing any videos because I would never disrespect the family on that level, but we will get there.
Not only
Um,
that, that video is really brutal, and I've seen some brutal videos, but I think the fact that you could hear it and it was so clear, because you've seen surveillance videos before, right? And this one really, really affected me. Like
I was, just so y'all know, I Noah and I watched the video together.
and I regret it. I
And
truly
yeah,
regretted it.
I completely saw like the look in Noah's eyes, and I could hear the hesitation in her voice as we started to discuss it. So it's one of those things where it hits home, especially, and it hits that much more further home when you realize how great of a person, like personality wise, Coco was. And I'm not saying she was the most perfect person in the world, but we are all human and we all make mistakes. And Coco did not deserve what happened to her at all.
Nope.
So with that being said, I am going to jump to August 20th. Um, August 20th was, I would say, a normal day for Coco. However, she did decide to go to a friend's house. The friend's name has not been disclosed. The location that this happened, besides knowing that it happened on Springside Drive, has not been disclosed. So I'm not sure exactly whose house she was at, but that's where she was. Um, and with saying that, I want to go on and say that what happened is at some point, Coco got a phone call and she walked outside. On the front porch of this house, you can see on video and hear on video Coco say, "Please, I don't. Please, I don't. Please, I don't." As she is brutally shot more than 10 times. And then the person in the white sweatsuit, as she is falling down, goes back to their vehicle and leaves.
Yeah, and he continues to shoot, like, she's on the ground and he continues to shoot,
Yeah.
which I had not only that, but did you see his gun jammed, right?
Yes.
I feel like that was, like, something telling him, "Don't fucking do this shit." And
See,
he
and
he was so
what
fucking cold-blooded.
that just so y'all know, that is part of how the police kind of knew who it was because
Oh, really?
yeah, because and they said this in an article I was reading. The detective said this
Mhm.
because that amount of bullets and that harshness is overkill, so it had to be a crime of passion.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's nothing truly that she could have done. I don't there's nothing that heinous, that important, that requires that type of retaliation. Like,
well, and
I
so
don't
we're
care if
gonna
she
get there. We're
what
because
she did.
there's so many levels to this.
Okay.
But so when that happens, you can also see in that video when she says, "Please, I don't," the first time, that she
Mhm.
turns around and tries to open the door that is then locked.
She does, yeah.
So she is at someone else's house. They locked her out with someone that they knew had abused her in the past and did not open the door when they heard her scream. On top of that, it was released by her sister that they knew nothing about that video until they saw it on social media. So, whomever this was released this video to social media without the family's permission,
That's fucking
without
shady.
the police's permission. So, they released this video to social media, I don't know, maybe to gain some kind of traction. I think whoever released it should be arrested. That's just my personal opinion. They are releasing a crime. There has to be some kind of level where that's illegal, even if it's just that they are charged with impeding an investigation. But at least it'd be something for the family to go, okay, well, at least something happened from that because her sister was not only appalled, but the entire family was disheartened because she has 4 children that will be able to see that video someday because it's been released on the internet now.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if they remove it, it's gonna be somewhere. I
Right.
am
And that's the biggest thing. It's always going to be, no matter how many times they take it off, it's always going to be available. Once it's on
yeah.
the internet, you can't get rid of something.
I will say that a lot of, like, the things that I've looked at, a lot of the people that have watched the video will not repost it. Like, they will not, like,
They don't want to acknowledge it.
no,
Um,
because it's super brutal. Like, I feel like you have to have more common sense. I feel like if you have that video, you give it to the police, and then if the police wanna edit it and release some information in order to, like, have them recognized, but I don't to go ahead and just post it, I don't I don't see how you can have the heart to do that shit, to be honest with you.
right. Um, so from there, I want to start by saying if you look at the bottom, y'all, that is a GoFundMe that has been set up for Coco's family. And that family includes her kids. Coco was doing well for herself. She had a stable home for her family. Her kids have been completely uprooted during all of this, and her family is super scared because they want to make sure they can provide the life for Coco's kids that she would have provided. And they're
Yep.
all just trying to figure it out. So I have, included that GoFundMe that was set up by her family, so that that money can go to the kids, and the help of them rebuilding what has been broken. So at this point, what I want to do is, whew, sorry, this one hits because I can't imagine. But right after the shooting happened and that video got to the police and they talked to Coco's family, the first person her family said is, hey, she was previously in a relationship.
Mhm.
a very violent individual. And his name is Derek Rankins. This is Derek in the photo. So, um, sorry,
He
I'm
looked
looking at
di
the face by Noah.
yeah, because 'cause I've seen another picture of him, and he looks way different without the beard.
He does look way different without the beard. He also looks, I've seen a couple pictures of him where he looks a little bit lighter also. Um,
Yeah.
in this picture, he looks a lot older than I think he actually was. I think they said he was 37.
Yeah, no, he looks like that's his dad her dad.
Right,
Um,
but it's not. I believe me, I double checked before I put him up here.
okay. No, I believe you. I just, like, it feels like it's, like, a totally different person, and it looks like it's a totally different person. I'm just amazed at what beards do to a man. It's like makeup for a woman.
Maybe I should get a beard.
Oh, for Halloween, maybe we should both be bearded women. But anyways, this.
Sorry. Um, so immediately they were like, it's Derek Rankins.
Mhm.
So they went ahead with the video provided, the information provided by the people around. They set up a warrant, and this warrant was actually issued the day. So the same day that she passed is the day the warrant was issued for his arrest. They just didn't know where he was.
Okay.
Um, so they got word from an anonymous tip that he was on Linden Lane. And around 10 a.m. that day, so I believe that the cars started setting up, from what I'm reading, around 9:15 is when cars started setting up the barricades. The
Okay.
neighbors were informed earlier around 8 a.m. and around 10 a.m. they attempted to make contact with Mr. Rankins.
Okay.
At the point that they were attempting to make contact, he opened fired into the entire crowd of police. He did hit and wound a police officer. I, I don't want to say condolences because the man didn't pass, but um, you know, appreciation for his family. However, this story is not really about that officer. This story is about Coco. They he then barricaded himself in the house. So for hours there was back and forth, negotiations, someone trying to get him to come out of the house before somebody was able to, at the point that someone was able to kick in the back door of the home, is at the point where he
Mhm.
opened fired again on the police. And they do not specify how. But at that point, Mr. Rankins passed.
Okay. Yeah, because some I read somewhere that it was a suicide, but then I read then it says police involved shooting. So
So, and they won't release how he passed, and they're not gonna until internal affairs is done with the investigation, because a police officer was wounded. So,
yeah.
anytime there's a police officer involved shooting, it has to go through internal affairs, and I think Georgia IB, so GIB out here,
Mhm.
before they can release. So that information may come as an update later next week, and if so, I'll definitely let y'all know. This slide right here kind of shows the barricade, and this shows when the police were actually outside after everything had happened.
Okay.
It wasn't until 2:15 that day that the neighborhood had been made safe, is what the police reported. At 2:15 is when people were allowed to come out of their homes again. Um, whew,
Do you think that's a just ending? I'm like,
I don't. I don't.
you don't? Because some people's I was reading comments, people saying he got what he deserved, but and I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying it feels like there's an emptiness, not knowing the why. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's my thing. I feel like if anything, with everything being said, the family at least deserves the reason.
Yeah.
And he was a part of that family. They knew him. He dated her.
Yeah. So it feels like there's no, what is it called when you know something is final, or like there's no, I'm thinking
Closure?
of a word. There you go. Started with C, but sometimes words escape my brain. There's no I feel like there's no closure when somebody just kills themselves or gets killed. Even if they're deserving of being dead. Like
Right.
I 100% think he deserves to be dead. I just feel like he should have been deaded, I don't know, in prison by somebody
Right.
after.
Well, no, and it's one of those things where this poor family has been through the ringer over, the last 4 months. And now they had no reason for the sister Sumitra, who was lost by a stray bullet. And now they don't have an answer about Coco.
Yeah. No,
So
it's really, really sad, and I really feel for the kids. Because
that's who's going to be mostly affected. I mean, no offense to like her mom and her sisters and her brother and stuff like that, because I know they're affected. That was their sibling and their daughter.
mhm,
But those kids are growing up now without a mom,
yeah,
and I personally couldn't imagine a worse way to have to raise children, not only with their mom passing, but with knowing that it was someone that they knew that did it. I don't know how long her and Derek dated, and I don't even like to say his name. I'm just going to call him the killer. I don't know how long her and the killer dated or how toxic their relationship was or what had happened in the past, but I know that the immediate response from the family is it was him.
mhm,
And I know that there was documented problems by the police with their relationship. So I don't know exactly what that means, but they did state at the end of everything in the news release that this was a
mm,
criminal domestic situation. And that it's a really sad thing that happens, especially out in the Atlanta area.
yeah.
Um, you know,
I
there's
feel
not a
like
way to fix these problems. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like the last 3 episodes we've done have been about domestic violence, cases that have to do with domestic violence, right? And the, uh, Gemma Donahue episode, she murdered him,
Hmm.
and a lot of people were like, "Well, she didn't have," including the detectives, are like, "Well, she didn't have to kill him."
Yeah, but then
Um,
look at Coco's situation.
exactly. Like, then look at Coco's situation. I don't know if Coco had a restraining order or she didn't have a restraining order, but sometimes those things don't work.
Well, and to be completely honest with you, I don't come from the same background other people come from, so I feel like I come from a background very similar to Coco's. In my opinion, she more than likely doesn't have a restraining order because I too never would get a restraining order, even when I walked away from very, 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 very bad situations, because you just don't call the police. We were
Yep.
raised not to trust the police, not to bring the police in your business, do not air your dirty laundry. What happens behind closed doors in your home happens in that home only. And I feel like that's like kind of something that's taught to people that live under a certain financial level most of their lives.
Yeah, not only that, but I feel like with that, when you call the police and you report it, I think there's also a fear that the only thing that that's gonna do is piss him off even more
Well,
and
yeah,
make him come at you, and the police are not gonna be able to protect you. Like, they're not gonna get there fast enough, so you don't want to anger him even more, so you stay quiet, like, you
mhm,
don't report anything. A lot of times there's other people outside of you that have to actually call and report, "Hey, this is happening at this house," or "Hey, my daughter or my sister," or they have to it has to be someone outside of yourself. You know what
right.
I mean? That reports it, because you're just so afraid that you're just gonna anger the person that you're with. And it feels like domestic violence is it's kind of like a gendered crime. It's mostly females that experience domestic violence, but there's also males that experience this, and
Males report it less.
yeah, they even report it even less for different reasons entirely. I think they
Yeah, a
don't
lot
want
of
to
it's
be.
an ego thing.
It's not. I don't think it's an ego thing. I just feel like they maybe feel emasculated
Which is
by.
your ego, right?
I don't think that's ego. I
I think
think
it's ego.
I think ego makes it. Well, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. I don't think that's ego. I think feeling emasculated is more shame, a feeling of shame, not feeling.
Right, which directly affects your ego.
But I don't know. I feel like when you say ego, for instance, I
And
feel like
you think ego's like a cocky, confident, I'm that kind of person, but
mhm,
ego, in my opinion, goes back to, your personality as a whole. Ego can be negative or positive. And that's just I don't want to say that's an opinion because I'm pretty sure I learned that in psychology. But um but I completely understand what you're saying, because when I say ego, I always think, oh, that guy's egotistical, meaning he's
mhm,
cocky and rude. But a lot of it, I guess, pride would be a better word for that situation, and not oh, I have too much pride. It's the shame upon the family, so you don't put it out there for pride's sake. Um, and a lot of
perhaps.
men don't report it because they don't feel like they'll be taken seriously. Because think about it. If you're a 6'2", 280-pound guy who doesn't feel like you should put your hands on a female,
Mhm,
and a 4'10", 120-pound girl boxes you in the face, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call the police
exactly.
and say that she's abusing me? Because the police are gonna be like, "Oh, she's so little," or "Oh, you couldn't handle that." That's not
It's
how it should be, though.
it really isn't. It really isn't.
Because that's how things like this happen.
Mhm, exactly. And I was looking at some stats, like in Atlanta, Georgia, like
Mhm.
a little bit over half of the women in Atlanta have experienced some form of domestic violence, which it's
So
to me is
scary.
astronomical. Like that's across social economic, backgrounds, across races, just 50% of women in Atlanta, not in Atlanta, but in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, have experienced some form of domestic violence. And that to me
Um, I'm
is crazy.
curious how many people live in Atlanta. Oh, okay. So 499,127 people. So 250,000 of them, I mean, we'll just say half, probably female. So half of 250,000 is 125,000 women a year
Yeah.
experience domestic violence.
Domestic violence. Yeah. And
That's crazy.
from 2012 to 2002, out of those women, apparently in
Hold
the
on,
state of
hold on. You just said from 2012 to 2002.
yes, because we go back in time in this podcast. That's how we present dates. Just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry. 2022.
Okay.
You can't say nothing. You thought it was October in 3 days. So
Listen, okay, y'all, I have to tell y'all this just because I love my fans. I completely forgot that September was a month, and I went out and bought a whole bunch of Halloween decorations and started decorating. And then someone told me I'm decorating too early, and I was like, October's in like 3 days. And they were like, no, September is. I completely forgot about that month. Anyway, sorry, y'all. Go ahead.
I'm kind of mad you wanted to skip my birthday month. Like
I
out of
know.
all the months to skip, it's my birthday month that you skip.
You can skip November. It's fine.
But what I was saying is from 2000 and what did I say? 12 to 2022, so 10 years. A total of 1738 Georgia women died because of domestic violence. I mean that's a lot. It's
That's really a lot. And one of the biggest things is this isn't widely talked about, and it's not. There's a lot of shame that comes from being a female dealing with domestic violence, and I know that so many people can relate, which is even more sad to me because we all go through this period of time where not only do you not want the help because you're good, you can take care of yourself, you're a grown up, you're supposed to, and I'm speaking just from personal experience, y'all. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone. I'm not speaking on behalf of Coco or anything like that. So I don't want anyone to think that. From personal experience, I know that when you are in that kind of situation, you don't bring it to others because you are an adult and you put yourself in this mess and you're going to figure it out. And then at the point that you realize that you cannot figure it out on your own, it is way too late. And at
Mm-hmm.
the point that you are brave enough to walk away from that situation, should you get out of that situation, it haunts you. Haunts. I have
Yeah,
been
the
out of my
scars.
situation now for almost 4 years. Wait, it's after August? Yeah. No, for 4 years. And you can ask I Noah, I still call her at times, scared, upset, worried that he's gonna come steal me. And you can't, that does sound really weird. I'm hard to kidnap, y'all. I got some weight on me. Um but I don't know
You,
why I did that.
you don't
Sorry.
want to taunt people. Now people may go over there and try to kidnap you just to see how hard to kidnap you really are.
Go for it. We got Patrick outside. Patrick is my bear, y'all. Patrick outside ain't gonna let you take me. He'll take me first. No, I don't know if I'll do any better, but I got bear spray. So um anyways, it's you don't ask for help. And at the point that you do ask for help, 9 times out of 10, it's too late.
Mhm.
I work closely out here with a couple of battered women shelters because North Georgia is a very easy place to hide um, when you are leaving a domestic situation. And these battered women shelters help those individuals. We also work close with those shelters with the industry that I'm in. So I absolutely love the idea of it, but I was one of those people that wouldn't have ever taken that help. And it wasn't pride, it wasn't ego. Well, it was a little bit of pride. I'm not going to lie about that. It was more that I didn't want to burden that on any of them. Um, I feel like at 38 years old, I relate a lot to Coco's situation because all I wanted to do was walk away from that relationship and move on with my life. And that is all Coco wanted to do.
Mhm.
She wanted to move on with her life. She wanted to raise her kids. She wanted to be done with that situation. I also feel like, and this is my personal opinion, I know that this personal opinion is shared by one of her sisters. I feel like the people in that house had something to do with it, whether it be a setup or acknowledgement, but somehow the killer, because I won't say his name anymore, knew where she was.
I mean, I think not only that, but why okay, so was there nobody in that house to open the door?
No,
Or were
somebody was
they
in there. Somebody locked it after she walked out.
that's suspicious. That's shady. That's there's something there. But I mean, I don't allegedly. I don't want anybody allegedly. I do want to say just one more quick fact because I think
He
this is
says
super.
allegedly for legal. I just want to say I didn't say allegedly because I can fight. Just putting it out there. No, I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm just kidding.
You keep teasing people to go kidnap you and now fight you. Like
Listen,
you
listen.
need
I
to
told you I got
stop.
Patrick. I'm good.
But hold on, just one quick fact because I think this is like super interesting. So in Georgia, apparently the same study that did, how many percentage of women suffer domestic violence in the state. So they in the study they also interviewed people to figure out how many of them thought that domestic violence was a problem, like a serious problem. About 70% of women thought it was a serious problem in the state, but if when they asked the men, only 50% of the men thought that
Of course,
domestic violence was a serious problem. Which,
that's
you
the
think,
but that's the same with like the Me Too movement.
mhm. I mean, and you think, there's like only a 20% and some change difference, right? But
That's
20% of like millions of people or like a large population, that's still a lot of people that like the difference, that think, oh, it's not a problem. It's just
And that's the biggest thing
things
is
that happen.
like, just like with the Me Too movement, they're like, well, not all men are like that. I get it.
Hmm.
I get it. But so many of them are that it makes us afraid of all the other ones. Y'all, when I walked away from my situation, which someday I'll be brave enough to tell the whole story and that'll come out later. But when I walked away from my situation, I was scared out of my mind of every male I came across. If you weren't someone I knew previous to that moment, I couldn't have a real conversation with you. If I didn't already know everything about you, I couldn't. My heart wouldn't let me, my breath wouldn't let me. So I know after being out of that situation, like Coco was just trying to live her life. She was trying to focus on them babies. She wasn't worried about nothing else. She just wanted to take care of her kids. And he was able to take that away. Those kind of statistics show how much of a problem this is in the world.
Yep. Because that's just looking at the state of Georgia. I mean,
Right.
there's other states that
Okay,
are
so the
worse than
state of
Georgia.
Georgia, sorry, I'm looking up the state of Georgia population. Oh, 10.92 million.
That's a lot of damn people.
So 50% of the men here don't think it's an issue. Well, that's because the other 50% know it is.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you from an outside perspective looking in, and I actually have a question for you. I know that I don't know if you know, and how about I ask it now so you have time to look it up?
Okay.
You tell me if the VAWA Act is active in the entire US or just in Georgia State?
VA, like Veteran Affairs.
VA, like Violence Against Women's Act.
Oh, I'm like Veteran Affairs. That's for like military. Is that why you're asking me?
No, I'm asking you so you have time to look it up while I say what I was about to say. So it's called the VAWA Act.
Okay, what I will tell you is that I just want to put it out for everyone that's watching, everyone that watches us. It is really important who you vote because of the funding. The funding for the shelters is both federal and state funding, and depending on who you put in office, they'll cut from resources from these shelters. So
And that's
just
what I was actually about to talk about is
oh,
here in North Georgia, we have multiple battered women shelters that help people
mhm,
out. And these shelters out here don't get a lot of funding, but they will drive. I know that the shelter right here in my local town um, has driven all the way out to Mississippi to pick up a mom of six, her and her kids, brought them back here, helped her get established, helped her get a new job, helped her get her. And when she left with nothing. She had to leave in the middle of the night with not a thing.
mhm,
So they brought everything that her and the kids needed. They put her into a home. I helped put them into a home. We got it completely furnished and made sure the kids had everything they need. And then they paid her rent for a year while she got herself established in the area. So that is what these shelters will do for you and your family. So if you're watching this and you're in a situation, man, reach out to me. And if you're not comfortable saying, hey, he's doing it or hey, he's hurting me, all you got to do is call me and ask me if I still do makeup. and I'll tell you yes, and I'll ask you where I can ship you a free makeup bag, and I will return all of that information over to the closest shelter to me, and we will get you out of there.
That's good to know. That's really good information. Like back in the 80s, they had like underground railroads for women, especially married women, because back then, if you were married and you were like in a domestic violence situation, you had children, the courts did not take into consideration most of the time the fact that there was domestic violence in the home and that that was not good for the kids.
Right.
So a lot of women would be forced to basically kidnap their kids to get them away from the father, and they had like underground not under not okay, so not underground railroads like physically underground railroads,
Right.
but they had like a group of homes, not shelters, but women that would open up their house to women that were going through domestic violence, and they would just keep moving them around from state to state until they managed to figure out the situation, either by getting another lawyer or by, just I mean, they would even give them like fake names, like
Yep.
they would get them like all types of documentation to try to hide because I mean, the court systems that did not provide any help. But
See, and out here where I'm at, um, is considered like a simpler life
mhm.
because we are so far from everything. Like the town I live in, y'all, the town that I live in only has a Dollar General. And
That's
what
all you need. Just kidding.
the next town over has a grocery store that we go get groceries from, and then the town after that has a Walmart. Um, so it's one of those things where it's like we are very secluded up here. You have neighbors, but they're not like right on top of you. Like I can yell.
Hopefully.
I meant like we don't have tiny yards.
I'm sorry.
We don't have tiny yards at all. I live on a mountain, and my driveway is like so steep that if you don't put your emergency brake, your car is going to roll down the mountain. It's going to go down to the very bottom of the mountain. Bye bye. So, so you have neighbors and stuff like that, but out here, not only does everybody mind their business,
Mhm.
but we come together on things like, oh, Patrick's back. Patrick is our bear, y'all. He's a bear on our mountain. That's who
Amanda's the only one that calls him Patrick, by the way.
you just don't know his name.
They don't know it. They haven't been properly introduced.
um So that's why, there's so many shelters and stuff up here in the North Georgia mountains, is because it is a good place to go to, because not only will people mind their business, but if something's wrong is going on, your neighbors, sorry y'all, working on my speech today. Your neighbors will step up, you know, when DNR and the police were out here earlier about Patrick. um it wasn't, the neighbors weren't like, oh, we're so scared. The neighbors were like, hey, we got a shotgun, we're good, you don't have to come back. and
Mhm.
and DNR was like, no, we have to come back, he's stealing dogs. Which that's alleged. I don't know.
Patrick is a savage.
I don't know if he really did it. It could have been any of his cousins. um so I just want to see the fingerprint for Patrick. um but anyways, they say he's on camera, so he probably did do it. But anyways, the big thing about being out here is your neighbors will step up if something's wrong. You
Yeah.
know, my cousins will come down sometimes, and they'll be out there at my mom's house having a few beers, and they'll get loud around the fire, and the neighbors will always pop over or give a call and be like, we just wanted to make sure everything was good.
That's so
Because
nice
around
and so
here,
nosy.
it is, but that's because there's nothing else to do out here but be nosy. We literally have a Dollar General, y'all. Um, So you have nothing but time to watch your neighbors. And they give you like really big windows in mountain houses for some reason. Um,
Okay.
so, but with that being said, I can tell you that I feel more safe where I currently live than I've felt in a really long time, Because if the person that I used to deal with were to show up here,
You can
and
just feed them to Patrick.
I could call Patrick, because Patrick, I love Patrick, and I think he loves
Yep,
me.
just
So,
be like,
did you just whistle?
"I
It, did,
did."
it didn't come through.
Oh,
We
let
just
me try
all
again.
go.
No, I can't whistle. Sorry. There you go.
There we go. Okay, we heard that one. Um,
Perfect.
at that moment, it was just like, um,
Oh god, okay.
so it's a good place for people to go that are trying to get away and trying to start over and want to create a more simple life for them and their family to heal. And that's the biggest thing about being out here is you have nothing but time if you're not working. So it gives you the opportunity to heal, to find yourself again, to be back with nature. And that's why they do the shelters and places like this, because it does give you a way to start over. The sad part is a lot of us feel like when we leave our abusers, the chances of them coming back are really high. But as soon as we start to let our guard down, is when things like that seem to happen.
Sorry, she came by.
So everybody, this is our co-host today. Oh,
Yes.
out of here.
She's camera shy. I think she doesn't like you because you told her she was evil.
She is evil. Y'all look at past videos and you'll see why I said that.
Mhm. But no, I mean, I think it's important to feel that, just to feel like you can start new somewhere. But you're right. Not a lot of people feel like they can do that. They can take that step. It's not an easy step to take.
Well, and the scary part for me is I think that there were a lot more than emotions there for Coco,
Mhm.
because I can tell you now, if I ever got the phone call that my abuser was out front, I'm not walking out the front door. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't care. I mean, I'll probably whistle for Patrick. I might even go out the back door with a shotgun, and see what I can do from there. Um, but I would more than likely, reach out to somebody that I know. I mean, the police, because that's the right thing to do, is call the police and not your neighbors.
Listen, I don't know. It
Sorry,
depends on who your neighbors are.
just incriminated myself a little bit there. Like, I'm just gonna call some people I know next door with their shotguns.
Oh,
But I would have not gone out that door. So that's why I feel like, number one, either she was set up, or number two, there was so much emotion and past right there that she needed closure from, that she walked out that door willingly, and it backfired. And that's the scary part. I wish tremendously for Coco's children to get everything they ever need. And if this podcast ever goes viral, I will sponsor the crap out of those kids and do whatever I can to make sure that they have the life that Coco would have wanted to give them. Because even though I didn't know her personally, you can feel, I'm tearing up, y'all. You can feel her presence just in her pictures. You can
yeah.
feel that she just wanted to be happy and live her life and raise, great kids that wanted to be an active member of society. Coco came from a good home, and their mom worked hard to teach all them girls to be independent and to take care of themselves and to do whatever it took to take care of their family. And Coco was walking proof of how well she raised them. And
Yeah.
it's so sad that her life was ended so soon.
Yeah, no, it's not easy to care for kids. It's not definitely not easy to care for 4 kids, and she seemed to be like getting her shit together, thriving. It's not.
She had to have been doing good. I don't know how she had so much energy. I don't have no kids and I don't have any energy, y'all.
I have 2 and they steal mine. I have it when I wake. Well, no, I don't. I'm lying. I have no energy when I wake up. I eventually get energy, and then I do, and they wake up and they take that energy back, and then I'm just like,
They're
and
little
still make you
energy
hate it.
vampires.
They really are. They really are. But I know. I mean,
I
as a
sorry, I thought you were picking up chopsticks just now with your straw.
was I? No, it was just no.
Done, right? I'm just gonna have some food. um
Listen, stories like this stress me out, so maybe next time I'll just get some chips. Yeah, no, it's a super heartbreaking story. I I feel really bad for her family, for her kids, for everyone involved. And the GoFundMe, money doesn't solve anything. Money's not going to bring her back, but children are expensive and now their family is having to take them on. So any little bit goes a long way to
it
make
really does.
sure. Yeah, it really does.
We're not a viral podcast by far, but if you happen to catch wind
Yet.
of this podcast, yeah, correct. If you catch wind of this podcast, if it comes across your screen, please share it. If not for us, for Coco's children. We just want to get this GoFundMe out. We want to make sure that we've done our part to try to help their family and moving forward from such a tragic, tragic year.
Mhm.
Um,
And also, if you know anyone experiencing domestic violence, please be there for them. You know, however you can, however they let you, just be there for them because it's something needs to be done about this because that's a lot of women that are experiencing it in one state. I can only imagine the rest of the country. It's kind of like an epidemic, like to be honest
right.
with you. And nobody talks. No, no, I mean it's not something that's super talked about either. But
No, because then you have to admit weakness or failure or whatever it is that we convince ourselves we have in our brains.
yeah, and Coco's loss, that is a loss that could have been prevented. That is a life that shouldn't have been taken. She should still be enjoying her life with her children, with her family, and not have to have died at the hands of a fucking asshole.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And as far as Coco's family, if there's ever anything that in lieu of murder can do for you guys, please feel free to reach out to us. If there's any misinformation that we provided on accident, please feel free to correct us. Everything that we said was in complete respect, and we hope that you understand that our condolences go out to you and your family completely. Coco did not deserve this, and we truly, truly wish your family the best. Please, again, if you know someone's struggling, make sure you reach out to them. The best that you can, the best that they'll allow you.
till next week. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. When